Hi, I'm Dave Wood with Automatic Irrigation Supply, and I'm going to talk today about what to do when a valve will not open. Okay, when you first arrive at the house, the client has probably told you something is not working, a specific valve's not working. You don't want to go out in the field the first thing. You really want to go directly to the controller and take out your handy voltmeter. And what you're going to want to do first when you arrive is make sure the clock has power. So we're just going to assume for this that the clock does have power, and then what you're going to do is bypass a lot of the problems and just kind of narrow down why that valve may not be working. The first thing you want to do is turn on that zone and check and make sure that that particular zone has about 28 volts. And you will turn your voltmeter to AC, and I have 27.2 volts. That is accurate. While you're at it, I want to go through each other zones on the clock and make sure that I don't have any other bleed out voltage in there. If everything else is zero, that means the wire path, in all likelihood, to that one particular valve is receiving the correct voltage. The next thing you want to do while you're at the clock is turn that zone off, and then we're going to do an ohms test. An ohms test is nothing more than a continuity test. That's going to tell me whether or not the wire path to that valve is good. Because I could still have 28 volts going out to the field and it not reaching the valve and not turning it on. So what I want to do is turn on ohms. In most voltmeters, you're going to turn it on the 20 ohms. This is an automatic voltmeter, so I don't have to mess with that issue. So I'm going to go to put it on the common, turn it on my one valve, and most valves are going to land in the marketplace between 20 and 60 ohms. If you're outside of that range, that means something is wrong with the wire path. I'm at 43 ohms for this particular solenoid, so that means I know that my wire path to my valve is good. So now I can leave the clock and go out to the field and see what's wrong with the valve. Okay, now I'm going to go out to the valve. I'm going to open up the valve box and turn on the valve manually by twisting the solenoid. If it does not come on there, I'm going to turn that back off. Then I'm going to open up the bleed screw. If it doesn't come on there, I probably have something in the actual valve that I need to open up the valve for. So, what in this valve do I have that's going to keep it from operating? Okay, what's not going to allow this valve to open is that these ports that start here will not allow it to bleed through. So on the solenoid, as you can see, if I put through a paper clip that comes off the top of the diaphragm, the water on top of the diaphragm has to go past the solenoid. When the plunger comes up, it goes through this hole and we'll go through the hole downstream. You'll be able to see it. If it were open, you could see it, but this sometimes gets blocked up and keeps the valve from opening up. And what happens is that if you could unblock that and unclog that, in all likelihood, it's going to go. If you get to your clock and you have all the voltage, you have the voltage that you need, this is probably the issue, that you have a clogged pathways. If that doesn't work and that's all clear, and still you go back to the voltage issue, you still need to have two tests. I need to test the valve under load, so I have to go back to the clock, and I will test and make sure I'm getting the right voltage, but you have to do it under load. You can't take the wires loose. So if I still have 28 volts at that point in time, I'm good to go from the clock to the solenoid. The very last thing that's going to let me know whether or not the valve's not going to open, and about the last thing that it will keep it from opening, at least on most valves, is if I ohm out the valve at the actual solenoid, and I have between 20 and 60 ohms. If it's good in that range, I'm good. But typically you're going to find that this is probably your culprit or the pathways. If it's outside that 20 and 60, it means you have a bad solenoid.